when dealing with numbers expressed in index form, and this one is called fraction index. Or some cases, in some textbooks, they will call it fractional index, as the case may be. What this rule deals with is that when you have the power expressed as a fraction other than the root power, when you're talking of numbers that are expressed as root power, the numerator will always be 1. It can be 1 over 2, 1 over 3, 1 over 4, and so on, up to 1 over n, which is called the nth root, which we just explained in the last lesson. But when we're talking of fractional index, it means that the numerator is not fixed to 1. It can be 2 over 3, it can be 3 over 4. Any fraction that the numerator will not be 1. So when you have the power of a number expressed in index form that have its numerator not 1, then we have to apply this rule. Look at what we're going to do. So let's assume that we have something like this. We can have 4 raised to power 3 over 2, for instance. Look at this one at the top. This one at the top is 3 over 2. It's like we are dealing with a fraction, but the numerator is not 1. And when it is 1 now, then it means that we are dealing with a root power. But having understood the concept of root power, it means that we can express this fraction as a root power. Because this one can be expressed as 4, 3 times 1 over 2, isn't it? 3 over 2 can be expressed as 3 times 1 over 2. That means you remove the numerator away from, so that you will get this one a root power, just like we just explained in the previous lecture. So I've gotten this in root power. So the next thing is to go on. It means that you can say 4 express in root power, then take your 3 outside. This one is a root. There is a root binding this particular expression. This is 4 raised to power 1 over 2. This one is the square root of 4. Based on the last explanation, I'm going to repeat that again. Express 4 in index form. This is 2 in 2 places, and this is 1 over 2. Don't forget that your 3 is still outside. So again, we go on. This one cancels this one according to the power rule that we have explained in our previous lecture. And this 2 raised to power 3. Then finally, we have 2 raised to power 3. That is what? 8. That's a personal example of what fractional index is talking about. In some cases, fractional index might not be given in positive fraction. In some cases, we might have our fractional index to be given in negative power. For instance, look at this now. This is 8 raised to power minus 2 over 3. In this case, the power rule, the power at the top is a negative fraction. So we have dealt with a rule that talks about negative power. So you first start from that rule. What does the rule say? If the power is negative, how do you remove that negative? You say 1 over. Then you write everything, the base and the power. That is 8 raised to power 2 over 3. That's what we deal with. So we move on from there. Then this is 1 over. Then you can deal with this like you have dealt with this. It means that this is going to be 8 raised to power 1 over 3, and we move the 2 outside so that you'll be able to take this one to root power. Then you can apply the rule of root power to 8 raised to power 1 over 3. This is 1 over, this is 8, 2 in 3 places, that is 8, raised to power 1 over 3, then everything will be raised to power 2, this 2 here. Then we continue, and this is 1 over 3 cancel 3, of course, then this one is 2 raised to power 2, and my answer is 4. So we have the negative index given to us, we have the positive index given to us. So generally speaking, when you have a fractional power, let's say a raised to power what? B over C. Generally speaking now, mathematically, then you have to express this as a raised to power 1 over C into bracket B. This 1 over C is going to be any root, that is C root. You understand what I'm saying from our previous explanation? This can be square root, or cube root, or fourth root, or nth root, based on the root you are given. Then raised to power B. So this is the general representation of the fraction index rule, or the fractional index. Then with that, we have come to the end of the rules that are used in manipulating numbers that are in index form. But before we conclude this lecture, we are going to solve some examples that we will be applying these rules in. So follow along.